Welcome to the NonProfit Voice, a podcast series brought to you by NonProfit Pro, the go-to resource for nonprofit management and strategy. In each episode, we're going to sit down with leaders of nonprofit organizations, the people responsible for paving the way for our sector, along with key technology strategy partners who are transforming our industry. Here at the NonProfit Voice, we'll have refreshing conversations in which we will all learn more about the convergence of nonprofit and technology. Be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website to find more episodes of the NonProfit Voice. And you can download all of the NonProfit Voice episodes on iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify. We will have all the links down below. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the NonProfit Voice. I'm Nhu Te, Editor-in-Chief of NonProfit Pro, and I'll be your host for today's episode. And as always, thank you so much for joining us today. So I'm really excited to introduce our guest for today's show. It's my pleasure in welcoming Diane Clifford, Managing Director of Constituency Development for Share Our Strength, No Kid Hungry, and Pat Duffy, co-founder of The Giving Block. Hey guys, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, doing all.
Awesome. I'm so happy to hear it. So before we jump into today's topic, I usually try to introduce you guys and let you guys talk a little bit about yourselves so our audience can get to know a little more about you and the organizations you work for. So Diane, I want to start with you. Can you share your background and how you found yourself at No Kid Hungry? And of course, talk about the organization itself and the work that it does.
Sure. Well, I majored in marketing and was bitten by the direct marketing bug when I moved to DC many years ago. And my focus was in marketing analytics, and I really enjoyed learning all of the math and the science behind the strategy. And over the last 30 plus years, I've raised funds for national park organizations, wildlife conservation organizations. And about 4.5 years ago, I jumped at the opportunity to help end childhood hunger through the No Kid Hungry campaign. And it really was the jumpstart of the direct response fundraising campaign for Share Our Strength and No Kid Hungry. The fundraising model prior to that had been related to corporate partnerships and culinary events. So all of this is new for No Kid Hungry, and we've seen incredible growth in this time, both in our field program and our fundraising programs. And I'm pleased to that we just learned that we've been named the ANA Nonprofit Organization of the Year, which is an incredible honor and recognition from colleagues in the nonprofit, direct marketing, and fundraising industry.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's big news.
Yeah, and during this, the pandemic and the shift in how kids are going to school as schools were closing, more kids were losing the connection to food that they receive on a daily basis, both breakfast, lunch, and after school meals. And we've been humbled by the outpouring of support from individuals. We've been working on this issue since the No Kid Hungry campaign launched 10 years ago. And we're continuing with our model to provide a combination of advocacy and awareness, emergency grants, and strategic assistance, which equips the communities with the resources they need. So since March, we've provided $25 million to schools and community organizations. And we continue over the next 90 days. We'll grant millions more to help schools as they're reconfiguring their operations, right? How schools are going to open. There's so much uncertainty around that right now. So excited to continue our work in the coming year.
Fabulous. And that's awesome stuff. You guys are doing a lot, especially during such a hard time in our country and the rest of the world. All right, so Pat, I'm interested in hearing more about you and your background and kind of like the evolution of your entire company.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having us on today. My background is objectively less compelling than Diane's for a nonprofit audience, but kind of a polymath, but without the expertise in the individual jurisdictions. I studied political science and communications in school, ended up going into pharma consulting, working with pharma companies at the intersection between public policy and then their collaborations with nonprofits, kind of figuring out where there was an intersection where they could lobby as a collective. After that, ended up moving over to the Lupus Foundation, working on actual nonprofit management and fundraising strategies. And then in 2017, started trading crypto with Alex Wilson, who is our co-founder. End of 2017, the price of Bitcoin went up exponentially, and a lot of folks who are outside the crypto space sort of heard about it for the first time. And from the nonprofit space, what we saw is over the course of 2 to 3 weeks about a couple $100 million in crypto getting donated to nonprofits, because what we soon found out was the tax incentive. So same tax incentive as stocks. So what we had to figure out from the Lupus Foundation perspective was, one, how to get set up, and then two, how to attract nonprofit donor audiences. And then through building a pilot program there to, one, get set up the right way so it wasn't a pain in the butt, to receive the crypto, to process it, to report it, to work with donors, and then two, kind of how to attract that audience and build ourselves as a part of that ecosystem so we can make it a sustainable part of the revenue. And by building out what ended up being the TGB, or the Giving Block pilot, we came up with a system that we then applied to a handful of mostly smaller nonprofits. And then in 2019, we started working with some larger groups and building out a platform. And Diane and No Kid Hungry have been one of our kind of star children for the overall platform, just getting involved with a lot of folks in the crypto space and building up an actual pillar of their fundraising ecosystem.
Awesome. So you had a little bit of experience in the for-profit space and the nonprofit space, and you took something that you were passionate about and built a company out of it. I love that. So today I've asked Diane and Pat to join me on the Nonprofit Voice to dive into the mysterious world of cryptocurrency, which, if you can't already tell, we're pretty excited about. So for our listeners today, you're going to hear more about what crypto is, what its growth has been like in recent years, how nonprofits are using crypto to fundraise, and so much more. So I'm just going to get us kicked off here with Pat. I'm going to let you lead us in. What is cryptocurrency? How does it work? And how can nonprofits benefit from it?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a technological standpoint, I think the first hurdle to get over is the how does it work, which I think is what you mean. You're saying kind of what is it? The general idea is that it's a money that governments can't print, rather than it being released by a national jurisdiction, a Federal Reserve. It's a timeline that's predetermined by a code. So there's scarcity kind of built in naturally. So no one's going to print, say, $4 trillion like certain countries did recently, and devalue the currency that people are holding in the banks. So that's one of the kind of value propositions. The other piece is not centrally controlled. So in terms of the rates, the cost that it takes to send money from point A to point B, all of that fluctuates as a natural part of the ecosystem. It's decentralized. People participate in it. They send money back and forth. And rather than a bank sort of managing your money and authorizing your transactions, there's cryptographic codes. They're almost like riddles that computers are cracking. And when one riddle gets solved, after I say send $1 Bitcoin from my account to someone else's, the code will then read out, hey, send $1 from account A to account B. It'll reconcile that transaction, and then those records can't be altered. So the final piece is the security, altering transaction records or trying to redirect funds, say, for nefarious purposes. Bitcoin solved that problem by creating a blockchain ledger, which pretty much becomes more secure, I guess, as it scales, is the best way to put it. So if there's 10 computers cracking these codes, you'd have to take over more than half of them at the same time to change a transaction record. And now that there's about 70 million people using this stuff, it's become the most secure, one of the fastest, and one of the most effective ways to send money online. So when people invest in Bitcoin, they're pretty much trying to figure out, okay, is this going to become a dominant form of money? And will we see more people using it? If you believe that, then people own different sorts of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, almost like a stock that they're investing in whether or not the technology will become adopted. And as a result of that, the people are speculating on it. Over the last 5 years, it's been the best appreciating asset. And over the last 10 years, it's been the best appreciating asset across the board. Meaning when people talk to tax advisors at the end of the year, They're told to donate their most appreciated asset to offset the most capital gains taxes. And now, because so many people use it, that means there's millions of people each year who are being advised to donate crypto specifically. So that's kind of where we come in.
Nice. And sure, can you talk about, why nonprofits are getting into it and why people donate crypto?
Yeah. So two main reasons. One is the tax incentive that we just kind of elucidated. So the reason nonprofits are getting in is because of the volume on the donor side. When there were 10,000 people using cryptocurrency, it doesn't necessarily make sense in terms of putting time and energy into figuring out how to do it. Now, tens of millions of people are using this day to day. So there are large swaths of donors who are moving in and out of investment positions and have a huge tax incentive to donate to nonprofits. So that's the one incentive. The other reason is young donor engagement. So in addition to it being a mode of payment, it's also a donor demographic. At least we like to think of it as one, in the sense that about 20% of people under the age of 18 already have this stuff. From millennials and Gen Zs, depending on the poll you look at, you'll find that they prefer cryptocurrency to stocks in some polls, and they seem to overwhelmingly prefer cryptocurrency to gold, for instance, as a store of value. So part of the bet is pretty much getting set up and forming donor relationships with the younger folks who are preferring to invest via this format, so that as they get older and become your dominant donor force, your major gifts, you'll have those existing relationships if you're one of the nonprofits who gets into it relatively early.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I could add, as fundraisers, it's our job to meet the needs of our donors anywhere they are when they're ready to and inspired to make a difference. And for us, the stats were most definitely compelling. I mean, every nonprofit fundraiser probably has a board that's encouraging them to find younger donors. The traditional direct response fundraising donor is over the age of 65, probably now borderline age 70 plus. So, as Pat said, one stat that sticks with me is that half millennials prefer crypto over stock investments, and just a great new audience for us to approach.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And Diane, I want to kind of pick your brain a little bit more and ask you to share more about No Kid's Hungry journey with crypto. In particular, what drove the organization to start fundraising, and what have the results been like?
Yeah, I think we first became aware after a session at one of the fundraising conferences. And again, it was intriguing that the stats around the new audience. And we were gearing up for Giving Tuesday last year, and the Giving Block was pulling together a specific campaign, and we thought it was a great time to just make the leap. And the Giving Block made it super easy for us to get everything set up really quickly in time for Giving Tuesday. And we really started with a light touch in promoting through Twitter and just having it out on our website and making it available if a donor had called in and asked for that choice. So it was very much just a sort of a slow process, dipping our toe into accepting crypto. And we did receive a few gifts at end of year, but things have really started to build slowly over time as we spread awareness and become involved in other partnerships and activities.
Awesome. And Pat, I want to kind of loop you in here. Can you talk more about, crypto's growth and some incentives for people to actually donate crypto?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I could tell you exactly why it's growing and what you can look for as an indicator as to whether or not price movement will be up or down, then I wouldn't be running a nonprofit services company. I'd probably be on an island somewhere. But I'll give you my best bet, or my understanding as to why it's happening. One major reason is the fact that this money just works better from the perspective of a lot of different people. The fact that, if you look at banks, for instance, just any major bank you can think of, if you look over the past 5 years, especially over the last 10 years, what you'll find is multi-$100 billion suits against them for laundering money, in the sense that they can actively alter transaction records, they can change how money's moving, they can change the game in terms of altering their fees. And then if you look at the fact that governments can print money at their whim, so your money can't really be a store of value you can depend on. Things like Venezuela, where they hyperinflated the currency to the point of being utterly useless, or even things like India, where they banned certain notes overnight and made something like 80% of their circulating paper money supply useless with the snap of a finger. I think people are looking for better versions of money and just kind of noticing that the financial system hasn't kept up with other aspects of technology that we've seen evolve dramatically over time. We went from a landline to a supercomputer in our pocket over the course of, a couple decades. We're not seeing that happen with money. So this is really kind of a first attempt at a form of money that's actually significantly more useful than the one we've been using. I'd say that has a big piece to do with it. And then the second piece is getting over misconceptions. So I think the adoption curve has been accelerating because, one, institutional stakeholders are getting into it. Facebook is developing a cryptocurrency. Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, China is developing a cryptocurrency. The US is being more tentative, which is making me nervous because having a reserve currency is obviously important for international affairs.
Yeah.
Some of that has gotten people into it, just seeing major companies putting their money in there. And then we've also kind of gotten away from the Silk Road myth kind of around it. Not that it's a myth because it was true, but in the early days of crypto, which is also why nonprofits and individuals are often afraid of this stuff, cryptocurrency was used overwhelmingly by criminals online for a couple years when no one knew how it worked because the criminals thought it was anonymous. Turns out it's the most traceable form of money that's ever been invented. So criminals got away with selling drugs online back and forth to one another for a couple of years. And then as soon as the DEA, the FBI, et cetera, started looking into it, everybody got caught. So everyone heard the story about the Silk Road, but no one follows the FBI and the DEA lawsuits that actually just tracked the crypto and caught everybody. So I think people still kind of view it as dark money, even though significantly lower percentages of transactions in crypto are illicit because it's way easier to trace than traditional money.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting because I think a lot of people still see it as like a mysterious and dark way to exchange money. But in fact, it's very traceable, like you said. But I mean, Pat, it's been Bitcoin and crypto, it's been around for a long time. But why is it now that nonprofits are using it to fundraise?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say ultimately it's just the opportunity cost of investing in something else. So that's what we tell nonprofits in general. They're sort of afraid of risk going into it. They think about, say, holding cryptocurrency. The price is very volatile. That's easily solved by just having it automatically convert to cash, which is a simple program. Or things like, okay, how do we know Bitcoin will actually work out or some other crypto won't come and replace it? From a nonprofit standpoint, it doesn't matter which one wins. If Bitcoin tanks tomorrow and a new cryptocurrency rises, that just means millions of people are going to have a lot more money in their pocket. So volatility is actually good for nonprofits from a donor standpoint. Ultimately, if you go down the line, a lot of those boxes got checked over time as people became more familiar with the tech. Those problems went away. So now it's just easy to take, whereas in the past it wasn't. You'd have to set up a node and do all kinds of crazy technical stuff. And then from an opportunity standpoint, when there's 70 million people using it, and like Diane reiterated, such a high percentage of younger folks are using this form of money, and the rate of adoption is accelerating so quickly, there's a land grab happening for this donor audience that the nonprofits who are getting into it are realizing and participating in. So just seeing nonprofits like No Kid Hungry, Save the Children, International Medical Corps, some of the kind of keystone nonprofits in the space people look to as the experts. Now that they're all pouring into it, it seems like we're just reaching a tipping point where the Overton window has made this a little bit more acceptable.
Yeah. Awesome. Diane, I kind of want to loop you in this convo. What are your thoughts on this and why nonprofits are picking it up? And how can we better educate nonprofits on crypto?
Yeah, so I'd say that fundraising programs focused on individual giving are generally siloed. So there's teams that are focused on digital fundraising or offline fundraising. And crypto isn't a channel, it's a gift type. So likely no one within an organization is responsible for expanding into new types of gifts. We're focused on new channels or new audiences. And again, I say that we view this step into accepting cryptocurrency as gaining awareness with a new audience. And as the fundraising landscape changed over the last few months, where many nonprofits found their revenue streams rapidly declining, I've had quite a few colleagues reach out to me and ask about crypto. Now, folks are hyper focused on every channel, every gift type, every opportunity to engage donors. And for those that had not considered cryptocurrency, they're now looking into it as one of their the arrows in their quiver of fundraising strategy.
Excellent. So I kind of want to navigate the convo here and move toward Giving Tuesday, since that's coming up this year. And it's, Giving Tuesday is probably the most popular, well-known giving days of the year, as last year it generated over $500 million. Pat, can you talk about the idea of Bitcoin Tuesday? And that's a day that coincides with Giving Tuesday. What type of engagement did you see last year?
Yeah. So Diane and Nhu Te were one of our kind of keystone groups going into that. The end of last year as we started our conversation. But the Giving Tuesday in general is kind of a perfect storm for crypto fundraising, in the sense that it's highly social media centric. It's a lot of younger donors kind of spreading the word and building momentum. Just ice bucket challenge type energy, where everyone's kind of got their own unique spin. And it's one of the very few days where everyone is paying attention to giving, regardless of if you're a part of the industry. So people are looking to give. And for a nascent giving mode like cryptocurrency, where not even all people with crypto are even aware that this tax incentive exists yet, since a lot of folks are pouring into it for the first time, it's an amazing opportunity where people are taking one day to think about making donations and then considering their portfolios. When it comes to the nonprofit space, it's also a really good way to get non-crypto donations, which is a weird thing for us to say. And kind of a hard thing for us to calculate and follow. I wish we could. We don't have access to all of our clients' backends and their website data. But we have a strong feeling that cryptocurrency, just because it goes up, quote unquote, over the last 5 and 10 years a lot, and dollars keep continually depreciating, unless you're moving out of a significant position, a lot of people are going to see that you take crypto and hear about you for that reason, but end up making a gift with a credit card. So the easiest way to put it is it's one of the best ways to stand out and earn crypto donors who might give to you with a credit card on a specific giving day, but they'll loop back around to you when they move out of an actual investment position. So to think about it like stocks or any other form of gift, the moment they hear about you and are compelled to make a gift due to your message, for the ethos appeal, they might make a small gift or one-time gift with a credit card, but the connection has been made. And when they actually sell a great deal of crypto and move out of a position, that's when they'd be making crypto gifts. So, I mean, we often see donations happen in the days following one of our major giving campaigns, or even a month later, we'll see a major donor come through who was looped in because of it. So I'd say it's not only a great day to fundraise, but it's a good day to, one, stand out, like I mentioned, and kind of cut through the noise of everyone else who's asking for regular donations. And then 2, earn donors who might give any time between then and year end, as they're trying to capitalize on the tax incentive.
Very cool. Diane, I mean, No Kid Hungry participated in Bitcoin Tuesday, and I'm interested in hearing your perspective of the experience.
Sure. So Giving Tuesday, we have a very aggressive multi-channel strategy, and we're, from a cryptocurrency perspective, we're more in a catching mode than a pitching mode. So we do, with a light touch, as Pat mentioned, mention or offer up that we accept cryptocurrency, but we don't expect many gifts on that specific day through crypto. But like our stock gift strategy, our cryptocurrency strategy is a drip campaign throughout the year, donor awareness, so that when the donors are ready to move their funds out of cryptocurrency for a charitable gift, that we are there, they remember us, and we're ready to accept their gift when they're ready to make it.
Very cool. And I kind of want to hear your thoughts on, Diane, on, we're kind of at the beginning stage, I mean, at least for nonprofits, on the growth of crypto in our space. So where would you like to see it grow in 5 years within the nonprofit sector?
I think we're starting to see it grow and sort of get woven into our overall fundraising strategy. I mentioned that No Kid Hungry campaign grew up around a corporate partnership and culinary event model. And we're seeing that corporate partnership strategy start to connect with the cryptocurrency community, the corporate side of things. A really fun partnership that we had most recently was Bitcoin Pizza Day, which was May 22nd. And for folks who don't know, it was the 10th anniversary of the now famous transaction of 10,000 Bitcoins being paid for 2 pizzas. And so with both Gemini, Flexa, and TaxBit participating in the partnership, they delivered pizzas to frontline fundraisers in the New York area. So that was really fun and a great collaborative partnership. And from No Kid Hungry's event experience, it's been fun to participate in poker tournaments that are being held to benefit the charities that are affiliated with the Giving Block. Most of the tournaments are gathering cryptocurrency influencers, and it's been fun to network with those folks and really just get the No Kid Hungry brand out to that community as well. They're a really passionate and fun group of folks.
Awesome. And Pat, how about you? Where would you like to see the nonprofit sector in 5 years in regards to crypto? And, coming from kind of the technology expert perspective, how can we get there?
Yeah. I guess the good part is from a tech perspective, we're there. It's certainly at this point, the way that we do it, it's easier than taking stocks, I would say. From a donation to donation standpoint, I have no idea how stock giving hasn't been disrupted yet, but that's a different story for a different time. I think Diane is also being modest about the No Kid Hungry angle also, but some of these groups like No Kid Hungry and the best performing nonprofits we have, like as of last year, we had like 20 nonprofits going into Giving Tuesday. We've got a little over 60 now who are operating as a part of our system. The ones that are working with corporate partners and just kind of finding ways to get involved with them, it really just kind of stems from a willingness to work with them. It's a basic understanding of the tech that kind of gets you there. So a better way to word that is cryptocurrency, once you learn a little bit about it, once you get over the hurdle of, okay, this is something I'm willing to entertain and maybe pay a little bit of attention to, I'll take a moment to even learn if this makes sense for us. Once that bridge has been crossed, the groups that are then willing to work with corporate partners, in the same way that you would assume most nonprofits think cryptocurrency is a little bit too complicated, kind of sketchy, not for them, this weird kind of play money happening on the internet. That's how people view the companies in this space. And there are companies like Binance, for instance, which is a crypto exchange. It's more profitable than Deutsche Bank. And you go across Coinbase, the largest crypto exchange in the US, has more users than Fidelity, Charles Schwab, E-Trade. You can go all the way down the line, but still, if Coinbase wanted to sponsor, say, a nonprofit event, most nonprofits would be like, what do you do, Bitcoin? That's nonsense. Get out of here. There are a lot of highly profitable companies in the crypto space that would have the same incentive to do a corporate social responsibility partnership with a nonprofit or a group of nonprofits. And no one's reaching out just because the ecosystem is so limited from the nonprofit side. So I would say the two things that need to happen is, one, more nonprofits need to go, okay, I'll look at this stuff. And I think they would quickly realize it's not nearly as complicated as it seems. You would just work with a solution provider in the same way that I can't build a Wi-Fi router, but it's pretty easy to plug one in. Crypto's very much gotten to that same point. And then the second piece is, once you're taking it, if you're willing to tweet occasionally about the fact that you take it, and then open your doors to corporate partners who would love to do a co-branding opportunity or partner on a campaign where someone like Noke and Hungry with a big traditional audience can earn them some potential users. That intersection can be highly profitable and relatively easy to engage.
Awesome. And so I always end our podcast here with one last question, and it's a simple question, but it can be difficult to answer. Diane, what's your advice for nonprofits regarding everything that we discussed today?
Yeah, I would just repeat what Pat said. I mean, don't be afraid. Get over your fear. Educate yourself. Educate folks within your organization that can help you push this over the finish line. Think of your giving block widget as just a donation form that happens to accept cryptocurrency. All of the other processes, the donor stewardship, the solicitation, connecting with corporate partners involved in that space, it's no different than how we've been raising money, for years in the industry. So again, just educate yourself and take a leap. Just set it up and see what happens.
And you, Pat?
Yeah, Diane nailed my pitch. That's it. For the most part, I'd say if you're not familiar with how this stuff works, I'm not saying invest in it because that would be crazy to make that recommendation. Yeah. But for a personal investment standpoint, you should know how this works in relation to other forms of money. Like there's a lot of people using this, and the user base is doubling pretty much every year and a half. You should know how this works and how it could affect your other investments, and how it could be disruptive internationally. It's just a big piece of the world now, so it's worth paying attention to from a nonprofit standpoint. Yeah. You should know whether or not you want to take it or not from an informed place. So just pretty much doing some Googling on how this stuff works and how you can take it. There's plenty of resources out there. And then third, if you're already equipped to accept crypto, even if you're not working with us, make sure you talk about it, because I can't tell you how many groups who are, I won't mention any names because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but how many groups have taken it since 2012, 2013, 2014, who have now switched to our platform because they never got donations. And it's pretty much, we're just telling them how they fundraise normally and then applying that lens over crypto fundraising.
Right.
And being like, have you ever tweeted about the fact that you take it? And they're like, no. It's like, well, then how do you expect them to find you? So if you're already out there with a crypto solution, even if it's not us, you don't have to switch to us, but please, for the love of God, talk about it. Because there are donors out there who are forming their connections, and they could be, lifelong and potentially very profitable.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like, I feel like it's like obvious information, but clearly not obvious enough, because I know a lot of nonprofits and just organizations in general aren't kind of communicating that, so the donors don't know that's even a possibility. And of course, if you're looking for, crypto related information, Pat, you write for us pretty frequently on NonProfit Pro. So there's a few articles on there if you're trying to learn more about crypto or how to implement it, or if it's even an option for your nonprofit to add as a fundraising option. All right, so that about wraps it up for today's episode. I want to take a second to thank our listeners for listening on today's episode. And Diane and Pat, it's been so fun and an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining me today on the Nonprofit Voice and sharing your insights on cryptocurrencies.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, Nhu, thanks so much for having us.
Of course. And on behalf of NonProfit Pro, I'll see you on the next episode of the Nonprofit Voice. Have a great day.